What's up with the Raider Nation? It's your boy, Raider Honcho, and I'm back with a brand new video for you. Alright guys, get right into it. You already know the vibes. You already know what type of time I'm on. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, well damn, subscribe to the channel. You can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter, both at Raider Honcho. Breaking news, breaking news. The Raiders start this season 1-0. Yes, sir. The Raiders took on the Patriots. The Raiders took on the Elements. The Raiders took on the early kickoff over here on the East Coast, and they came out victorious on all fronts. Yes, it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always perfect. But they don't ask you how, they ask you if. And the Raiders did indeed get the job done. Now, let's get into it. This is the Honcho Report. This is the Week 1 recap. And you might not like everything you hear, but I don't give a damn, okay? Look, check it out. The Raiders get the ball first. First drive, everything looks phenomenal. They look great. Gino looks great. The play calling is great. The receivers look great. Genty looks amazing. Generational talent in the backfield that we do have. And you know, it's not a surprise because usually the first series is usually scripted. You know exactly what plays you want to get into. You know exactly what looks you're looking for. So I wasn't surprised that we were successful on the first drive, but I was impressed with how sharp it was considering it is the first game of the season. You don't get a lot of preseason looks or reps. So I was pretty pleased and impressed with how sharp the offense looked, especially Geno Smith. I'm not gonna lie. I said the QB was mid. I still believe he's mid only because I just think there's a lot of talent up at the top. There's a lot of elite talent in the NFL at the quarterback position. And although I do think Geno is a very good quarterback, I just don't think he's top tier. But with all that being said, he played like a top tier quarterback yesterday. We got it. Hey, it is what it is, okay? Defense gets on the field. I think they go 3 and out. It was very impressive because Raiders, the games don't start until the defense takes the field, in my opinion. I don't care how good the offense looks. They could go down there and score on 1 play. They could score on 10 plays. They could have great drives. It don't matter. The game does not start until that Raiders defense takes the field because that's going to let you know what type of game it is. That's going to let you know if you're going to be drinking Hennessy or you're going to be drinking more Hennessy, okay? Because it can get stressful when the defense gets on the field. I will admit that. So I was very impressed with the defense getting a 3 and out. They were putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but they weren't getting home a lot. They weren't getting sacks or anything like that, but they were putting pressure on the quarterback, okay? Plus, you're dealing with the elements, slick ball. It's not going to be easy for quarterbacks to really let it rip unless you're Geno Smith, apparently, because he was hitting everything. He was dotting everything up the first time he got on the field. But overall, the beginning of the game looked good, right? The beginning of the game looked good. Everything was clicking. And then you can tell when adjustments were being made from the Patriots. I think the Patriots started putting more pressure on Geno, started stopping the run a lot easier. I think that first drive, the Raiders got out of the gates early, was able to push the ball down the field and able to run the ball. But second, third, fourth drive, it was getting hard for them to run the ball. It was almost like the running game was not existent. So it did stifle us a little bit. And as far as like just what I was seeing on the field, it looked like the Raiders kind of got a little bit conservative, especially after Geno Smith threw that interception. I mean, the one pass where the receiver was covered, he actually throws the interception. I think he had like 4 guys around him when he threw the ball. But outside of that, it wasn't really too much going on. It was a pretty slow game for the most part. But I think the second half is where the game was won, obviously. The second half is where the adjustments were being made. The second half is where the coaches rose to the occasion, in my opinion, because what they were able to do, what the Raiders offense was able to do in the second half was they were able to take advantage of the fact that the Patriots were selling out to stop the run, right? So what that is they put, the Raiders came out in a lot of double tight end personnel, a lot of running personnel on the field, which made the Patriots getting to run stopping personnel on the defense. And then we just went play action, right? So even though we couldn't really run the ball, so your mind would tell you that play action isn't going to work if you don't actually run the ball. But the thing is that when you go out there in that 12 personnel or that 11 personnel or whatever, 21 personnel, when you get out there in a certain personnel where it looks like you're running the ball, even though you don't have great play action, it's still going to put the defense in a position where they're in run-stopping fronts. They're in run-stopping coverages. And the fact that the Raiders had to put the Patriots in those situations just to throw the ball meant they were getting a lot of single coverage on the back end. They were getting a lot of soft coverages on the back end. And they were able to take advantage of that and move the ball down the field and put themselves in position to kick field goals, right? Like, the Raiders didn't score a ton of points. They scored enough points to win. I think the defense in the second half also made the adjustments because they were actually putting a lot more pressure on Drake May and that Patriots offense. Like, it looked like in the beginning of the half that, you know, As a defense, we were playing super vanilla and super soft. I saw a lot of receivers running open. Like, there was a lot of receivers wide open. Even when they didn't make the plays, they were still wide open. And I thought Patrick Graham, I'm like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Why are we playing these soft cover threes? Why are we playing these soft coverages? Like, we got to get up on the receivers to kind of mess up the timing of the quarterback. And I think what it was he really just saved that for the second half, because in the second half, you can tell that they put a lot more pressure packages on the field. They were getting to the quarterback. They were putting a lot of pressure on him. And then it was allowing those DBs to kind of run around free and run around and make plays out there in the back end of the defense. And to me, that was the key to the game there. Like, the first half was a completely different defense than what you saw in the second half, right? And it was really those adjustments that they made at halftime. Now, everybody will say halftime adjustments are kind of overblown and, like, you don't have a lot of time to make the adjustments. But in reality, in those 15 minutes that you have, you can sit down and say, like, look, this is the stuff that's hurting us, and this is the adjustment we're going to make. You don't need a ton of time to make adjustments. It's just hard to make those adjustments while the game is being played. So even if you got 10 minutes, you can tell your defense, like, hey, we're going to go slide over a shade into the gap. We're going to move our 3 tech here, we're going to move our 1 here, or we're going to play in a 0. Like, you can move guys around, right? You can get into those double mug look where you have the linebackers walked up to the A gaps, and you're giving quarterbacks different looks, different things to think about. So I think the Raiders in the second half just made the right adjustments, right? Offensively, they put the Patriots in situation where they thought they were going to run the ball, and we came out and passed the ball. We actually couldn't run the ball at all in the second half. It was actually pretty pathetic the way we could move the ball in the second half. I thought the offensive line looked terrible against the run. I feel like in pass protection, they did pretty well, right? I thought Geno was upright for the most part. But defensively, making those adjustments to put more pressure on the quarterback, knowing that it's going to be hard to throw the ball. And when you put more pressure on the quarterback to get the ball out faster, it gives your DBs a chance to kind of play eyes coverage and almost just keep their eyes on the quarterback, and they can break on the ball. And I thought that was the biggest difference in the game, was that the Raiders made really good halftime adjustments. And I think the Patriots kind of fell asleep at the wheel and thought that we could just keep doing what we're doing and eventually it'll work for us and we'll get something going. And they were wrong. Now, with all that being said, it's great that the Raiders win. It's great that Geno looked great. It's great that the defense stepped up when they needed to. But there are some blemishes in this game, because if you really think about it, the Raiders played one of the worst teams in the NFL, and we weren't able to score a lot of points. There were receivers running around wide open in that back end. So I do think the secondary is going to struggle this year. I do think that when we go against teams that can put pressure on Geno, but also have the bodies to be able to cover receivers in the back end, I do think it's going to get a little dicey for the Raiders. But I mean, look, that's why you play the games, right? Like, styles makes fights, and we'll see what happens when we line it up. But overall, I mean, if I'm giving out grades, I mean, Geno's getting an A. Brock Bowers is getting an A. I think that offensive line is probably going to get a B for pass protection and a D for run blocking. But for the most part, I just thought the Raiders did a really good job at, keeping it simple. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't see Geno at the line of scrimmage making multiple adjustments. I don't know if he made one single check or one audible in that game. And so that means they really trusted the game plan. They really trusted the play calling. I thought Chip Kelly gets an A for his play calling, because at the end of the day, the Raiders don't have a whole lot. They made it look good yesterday, but the Raiders don't have a whole lot that says this is an upper echelon receiver room or whatever the case may be. But they made big plays yesterday. Geno stepped up and made big plays. Those receivers made big plays. And, that's just what it is. So to me, I'm very pleased with what I saw with the Raiders. I thought the Raiders would beat the Patriots. I think next week we have a tougher challenge, and it'll be exciting and interesting to see how we play and how we match up against other teams in the NFL this year, knowing that we're going to have to score a lot of points. But look, I'm pleased with it. The Raiders are 1-0. That's all that really matters. Like I said before, they don't ask you how, they ask you if. And if the job got done, yes, sir, the job got done. So, very pleased with what I saw. Get down in the comments, let me know what you think. What did you like the most about the game? What did you dislike about the game? What scared you the most about the game? And if you had to give a game ball out, who are you giving the game ball to? To me, I'm giving the game ball to Chip Kelly. Okay, I'm giving the game ball to Chip Kelly, because there was plays in there that in the past the Raiders would not have made. The Raiders would not have been aggressive on. And I thought that he kept the Patriots kind of guessing, especially making that change to go play action on first downs, man. When you decide to throw the ball on first down after you've been running it the whole time on first down, it really puts you ahead of the change. Winning on first down is essential on both sides of the ball. If I can get 4 yards on first down, I win. If I can force you to only get 2 yards on first down, then I win as a defense. So as far as the chess game goes, the Raiders won that, and obviously the coaches rose to the occasion. It's fuck Josh McDaniels. I just hate his face. I hate the vibes. I hate everything about that guy. So like I said, get down in the comments and let me know what you think. If you like the video, like the video. If you like the content on this channel, well, share, subscribe to the channel. Like I said before, hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are at Raider Honcho, man. I get active in the Twitter. And the Twitter, and the tweets, and the mention, whatever you want to call it, man. Get down and hit me up, man. Till next time, as always, Raider Honcho.